obviously, we have two libraries here in our community. We have a great partnership with Brazoria County in that we own the buildings, we take care of that, but our wonderful partners at Brazoria County then take care of everything else: the staffing, the books, the running, the day-to-day, everything else that goes in. So it's a very very great partnership, very unique. Most places around here, either the county does all of it or the city does all of it. And so it's a blessing for us because we don't have to do it all. It makes our tax dollars stretch and go a little bit further. So, but I'd like to read this proclamation if y'all just bear with me for just a few minutes. Whereas Friends of the Tom Reed Library and the West Pearland Library raise money that enables our libraries to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. And whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our libraries are the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. And whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our libraries get the resources they need to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's services. Whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. And now, therefore, I, Kevin Cole, by the power vested in me as the mayor of the city of Pearland, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 19th through the 25th, 2025, as Friends of the Library, Libraries Week in Pearland. And I ask all citizens, both near and far, to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all that they do to make our libraries and community so much better, given under my hand and seal today, the 13th day of October, 2025. And who am I passing this to? You're going to take that. There we go. And would you like to say a few words?
Like to say that libraries are an important part of any community, and we appreciate the support of the city of Pearland in helping our libraries be even better. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Sylvia Camille, but I'm going to pass this to our president, Karen. Oh, I just, okay.
Well, thank you, everyone. I just echo what she just said. We're very involved with our libraries and believe in them very strongly, and we appreciate the support from the city. So thank you.
There we go. We will be back in just a few minutes. We'll get our 6:30 meeting started. We had a pre-meeting, a 4 o'clock meeting that went to about 6:14. So our members are throwing some dinner down real quick, and we'll be started here in a few minutes. All right, we'll call to order this City Council regular meeting agenda for Monday, October the 13th, 2025 at 6:37 p.m. Again, apologize for being a little bit late. We had a meeting in front of this that went a few minutes over, and we all had just an opportunity to get a brief dinner. So moving forward, if you'll all just rise, joining Councilmember Cade as she leads in an invocation, followed by Councilmember Koza in our pledges.
Thank you, Mayor. Y'all bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you today, and we thank you for the opportunity to gather here. Thank you for the residents in the audience. Thank you for allowing us to be here and working together on behalf of our community. I lift up and give thanks for the police officers, firefighters, and first responders that serve and protect our city. I ask you to please protect them and their families. Thank you also for our city staff, for our mayor, and for this city council. Please be with the city and with the council in our decision making. Give us wisdom. Please keep our deliberations respectful and honest. Help us to listen to each other, and bless us as we work together as a team. Lord, I ask that you also watch over the residents of the city. I pray that this meeting honors the trust they have placed in each of us, and that the decisions we make here lead to an even better Pearland. I pray all of this in your powerful name. Amen.
Texas flag, allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one. Thank you both for leading us into that. Madam Cade, thank you for the prayer, especially praying for all of our citizens over our community. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's an honor and a privilege that we come before you with the business of this city, and obviously this is a business meeting, so just indulge us as we work through this business. With that, get that turned off. There we go. Moving forward in our agenda, roll call and certification of a quorum. Madam Secretary has certified we have a quorum present, as all members are present with the exceptions of Member Chavaria, who will be absent for the evening, and Member Patel, who may be here later. He had a flight that landed late, so but he's on the north side of town, hopefully headed this direction. So with that, we have some citizens' comments. I believe all of them are, okay, we don't have any general comments. They're all pertaining to a specific agenda item. So when we get to that agenda item, we will call on you at that point in time to address council with your comments. So with that, we have consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed? Seeing none, Mr. Koza, would you present the consent agenda items A through H?
Yes, Mayor. Consideration and possible action on consent agenda items A through H. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel? Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, with that, we fast forward a couple of pages. Here we go. Public hearing. Is Joel doing this public hearing? Here, no,
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Joel, if you'll just kind of read into the record the reason for the public hearing, move into your comments.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, this is our third public hearing we're hosting for the FY26 HUD Community Development Block Grant allocation that the city is receiving shortly. This would be for the amount of $537,831. soon to be forthcoming in the form of a grant agreement from HUD. We've been asked to conduct another third public hearing with regard to our limited English speaking compliance component, and that's coming from the regional office. So we'll get through tonight and we should get our grant agreement from HUD soon thereafter. So we'll cover some topics that are probably familiar to council and staff, but we want to make sure the public gets an opportunity to understand what this program is about and how it's structured. We get these funds every year as part of our entitlement jurisdiction status. We are a city over population, and since 2006, a regular allocation has come to the city through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's a flexible spending program, allows us up to 24 different types of spending categories, mostly in the area of housing, social services. There's some redevelopment activities we can use the funds for, and infrastructure improvements, among others. Primary purpose of the program is to meet HUD national objectives, and there are three. We can use the funds to remove slum and blight, to meet local urgent needs like hurricanes, disasters, and things that affect the entire community, which we've done in the past periodically when that's been necessary. But the primary focus of our efforts has been to serve the low to moderate income community in the city. And that would definitively be individuals or households that are at or below 80% of the metropolitan statistical area income for Pearland. Right now, the rule suggests that we would spend money in areas that are 51% or more low to moderate income, but because Pearland has a higher income level community-wide, we qualify for a lower percentage of that, and that would make us what's called an exception criteria grantee, and our current exception criteria percentage is 42.5. It gives the money out to cities like ours in using two formulas. We fall in Formula A, and that's because our community lacks the pre-1940s housing statistics that larger, older cities would have.
Okay.
When we put our action plans together, we're typically doing three things. We're assessing the local economic and housing conditions. We're going to analyze certain local conditions involving the status of public infrastructure, neighborhood services in our community, looking at our public facilities, trying to restore anything that might be aged or damaged. We definitely invest in social services activities with our local nonprofits, and also do the best we can to address issues like homelessness and support local nonprofits as they develop. At the end of the day, based on the data collection and assessment we perform, we try to address the unmet needs in medium to high priorities. The slide should give you a picture of the income levels in a household that would need to be met in order for us to provide services to individuals and households. And as you can see in the middle of the table, a four-member household would need to make no more than $92,900 to, as a household, qualify for the programs that we provide support for. This is a map we typically provide to show what the census block groups look like if we were conducting any area benefit projects. This year, we are not using the funds to provide any such programs and activities. So this won't be pertinent to our program this year, but we do have projects that are being benefited from with HUD funds that are in these kinds of areas. All of these areas would be those that I mentioned because Pearland is an exception criteria, all within 42.5% or more low to moderate income households. We're currently in our fourth year of our, I believe, fourth consolidated plan cycle. So we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary, if you will, of City of Pearland's entitlement status. So next year we'll start to plan for that final year and cross over into the fifth consolidated plan year, which will be a lot more of an arduous process. But right now we're only required to do the annual action plan work, which determines how we spend that $537,000. With the funding we're receiving, we will spend $80,000, $674 on social services. We're going to be dividing that between the Pearland Neighborhood Center and Counseling Connections for Change. And those two programs meet the high priority needs of the community based on our 5-year consolidated plan. We're going to provide Forgotten Angels with close to $350,000 so they can complete their multi-purpose facility that's probably 90% construction complete. They just need kitchen equipment to get that facility put into use to serve the mentally disabled adults that they provide services to. We did provide a earmark kind of placeholder for drainage improvements in the event that something happens and we really need to put money in that regard. We can go to a prior year where we may have an unfunded or unspent balance of funds available and reallocate those dollars to a project that might come in the form of a response to a hurricane or an emergency that is eligible for us to use the funds for. And the remaining costs will go into administrative program activities. With that, I've completed the information we're required to present and open to questions and discussion. Pass back the balance to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you for that. As always, this is a public hearing, so we'll throw it open to the public for anyone here to offer testimony on this Community Development Block Grant Program as outlined by staff. Second attempt, anyone wishing to offer testimony, go to the podium, give us your name. You have 3 minutes to speak. Third and final time, those wishing to offer testimony, seeing no one moving in that direction, we'll come to City Council for questions, comments, concerns. Ms. Cade.
Thank you, Mayor. Joel, on slide 3, I know one of the 3 things its purpose for is to remove slum and blight. Have we ever used it for that?
So we did earmark some funds one year for slum and blight. HUD's rules require that in order to use the funds like that, there have to be multiple properties immediately adjacent to each other and on the same street. And we just could not find a situation that had that kind of characteristic in order to use the funds like that.
Okay, and then on slide 5, you mentioned on slide 5, homelessness is there anything? Is there anything the social services can do about that?
You know, that's a good question, and I think I've talked about this before. The statistical results from our assessment of homelessness don't produce the types of numbers that would really kind of put us in a position to establish a program. I think we're always mindful of the fact that we need to do something in that regard. We just haven't come to a place where we've decided, all right, we need to put $10,000 into transportation or something like that. But when we do our next consolidated plan, the next 5-year plan, I think that's something we're going to have to look at establishing.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll close this docketed public hearing, excuse me, and move to public hearing number 2. Joel, when will that be back in front of us for adoption?
We should have a grant agreement in the next few weeks. I think it was put together and signed by HUD right before the shutdown, so just a matter of somebody putting it in the mail to us.
Okay. And are you leading the second public hearing?
So the second public hearing, it's part of the process of implementing the public improvement district to bring sanitary sewer utilities to the district. Ms. Valerie Marvin is going to walk through our presentation on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson, and good evening, Mayor, City Council. Tonight we have 2 items for you this evening that will be to conduct this public hearing for input on the service and assessment plan to extend sanitary sewer to the Smith Ranch Road area, and then followed by the next item, which is to have the first of 2 considerations for an ordinance adopting the plan and levying a special assessment against property within the district. We know we've We know we've conducted a number of meetings on this item, but just want to give you a quick recap. City Council first accepted a petition from the property owners back on May 19th, and you've since held 2 public hearings to create the district, approved the creation of the district on August 11th. At your September 8th meeting, you approved the assessment plan and the cost determination resolution, and set public hearings for tonight and October 27th meetings. The map on the screen shows where the city's current sanitary sewer lines are located. Unfortunately, none of these lines have capacity to be able to serve the area, so we set out to find a solution how we could get around this. And so the city completed a study last year of what the best options could be, and found the most cost-effective option would be to take the flows via a lift station and force main over to Kirby Drive. That would be going under Highway 288, and eventually taking the flows to Reflection Bay wastewater treatment plant. The estimated cost to do this would be approximately $6.1 million. So to date, we have accomplished quite a bit through the process of creating a PID. So far, we've accepted the petition, conducted 2 public hearings, approved a reimbursement agreement with PEDC, between PEDC and the city, and a development agreement between the city and the Rockefeller Group, the developer, and also approved a resolution to create the district. And so this brings us to tonight, where we'll have the first consideration of the final service and assessment plan. So as I mentioned, the total estimated cost for the project, the improvements would be about $6.1 million. Of that amount, the developer will be contributing $1.5 million up front, and the developer will also be required as part of their plan development to extend water to the area, as well as construct 2 lanes of Smith Ranch Road, number 2, or Smith Ranch Road 1, number 2, in the original. And so PEDC will be funding the cost of the remainder of the improvements, around $4.6 million for the city. And then once the assessments become due in the future, then the city would refund PEDC upon collection of those assessments. And so the interest rate that will be set for the PID will be what is set by the index reported on the month before the assessment is approved. And so as of September, the rate is actually 5.14%. And so we do plan on modifying the service and assessment plan before we come back next month, or excuse me, the next meeting, which is the October 27th. And so based on the non-developer acreage of 61.44 acres, the projected assessment will be $75,545.64 per acre, or $1.73 per square foot. So the next steps include tonight's public hearing, and then the following first consideration of the ordinance to adopt the final service and assessment plan, and then following that will be the final public hearing on the 27th with the final consideration of the levy and assessment, and second consideration of the ordinance to adopt the final service and assessment plan. And then if approved by council, the ordinance would then be recorded with the county clerk. And so that is all I have for this evening.
Does that wrap up all the comments from staff?
Yes, sir.
All right, sounds good. We'll go to the public. We do have one member of the public that signed up to speak to a business item. We can take their comments under the public hearing. Mayor Pro Tem, please follow Mr. Atchison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Richard Atchison, if you want to make your way to the podium and state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Hello, I'm Richard Atchison. I'm very much in favor of the PID finally getting started. I'm probably one of the bigger property owners and hit substantially with the bill, but without it, I can't sell anything. I can't retire, I can't do much. Well, I believe it's a great step forward to get this project started. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so we'll just open it up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this and to offer testimony, go to the podium. Give us 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Motamedi, your name, and you got 3 minutes to speak.
Great. Hi there. My name is Nick Motamedi. Thank you for your time. I'm going to keep it brief. I'm sure you already know that I am in strong support of this proposal. As I shared with the city secretary earlier, we have another signature from another neighbor in support of this. So we're now at 80.35% of the acreage in support, which is the overwhelming majority of the acreage. We're hoping this goes forward, and I want to just extend my appreciation to Matt, Valerie, Jonathan, everyone at the city for keeping this process moving. We're hoping we're at the finish line, and I know Tim is here from Rockefeller, and Andy is here from Kimley Horn to answer questions if they may be. So I'll pass it over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Tim Wooten with the Rockefeller Group. Like Nick mentioned, through the cooperation of y'all's office and with the EDC, it's awesome that we're here at this point. Very excited to see this project go. Just one thing I wanted to clarify real quick. It was something I discussed with Jonathan at the city's office, just to clarify sort of the project as we understand it. While we are, of course, in the development agreement to do these wastewater improvements across the entire 80 acres, the improvements for water and Smith Ranch Road, the understanding, the conversation has been to just, for those items to be just to our site, not the entire PID area. That was something we discussed would be amended and just updated so everyone was on the same page for the next meeting, but just felt it would be better just kind of clear the air up front now as well.
Always good to get it on the table. All right. Third and final call, those wishing to speak and offer testimony on this public hearing. Seeing no one moving in that direction, we will close the docketed public hearing and move to questions, comments, concerns from council. Anybody have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move to new business item number 1. Mr. Carbone, would you present that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action. First reading of ordinance number 1653. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. We've had opportunity for comments and questions from council as well as staff report. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, moving to new business item number 2.
Excuse me, Mayor. If I could just ask Mr. Wooten and Mr. Motamedi, since you did speak at the podium, please fill out that speaker sheet and get it to the city secretary. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lawrence. Mr. Byron, would you present new business item number 2, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Consideration possible action, resolution number R2025-164. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Mayor, this and the next 2 items are for nominations for the different appraisal districts that we are associated with in Brazoria County, as well as Fort Bend and Harris County. And it's at this point, it's nominations for who will be on the ballot for those board of directors coming up soon. And so there are some, I believe there's recommended ones on there that are already on there, or the council can appoint others to be on the ballot.
Yeah, so just by way of each one of these, we'll have to name. If we don't have a name, we can go with, or we can just leave it and not submit it. But in the Brazoria County one, Susan Spohr and Gail Robinson are the 2 current whose terms expire at the end of this year. I've heard from our representatives that they're fine to remain on there. So we want to take formal action to request that nomination, but also if we had the opportunity to put someone forth, we could. I haven't heard or seen or had any direction to put anybody different. So with that, if we don't have one, Mayor Pro Tem, we'll need to amend the motion to include this, because I didn't see them in the documents. We'll have to amend the motion to put those 2 names in there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So consideration possible action, resolution number R2025-164, amended to include Susan Spohr and Gail Robinson as appointees. So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second as a motion to amend. Madam Secretary will call for the vote on that.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram,
Aye.
Member Koza,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Cade,
Aye.
Member Fernandez.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Yeah, so now we have an amended motion on the table, so we will need to vote on that. Last call for questions, comments. Don't see any. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram,
Aye.
Member Koza,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Cade,
Aye.
Member Fernandez.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, with that, we'll move to new business item number 3. Ms. Cade, you'll present that, and I do have the names. They're also in the write-up. We do. We would have to amend, all 3 of these we'll have to amend and put somebody in there.
It could be presented right now with those names in it if you were so inclined.
Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2025-166 with Paul Stamatis Jr. and Camille Gaskin added. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Cade,
Aye.
Member Fernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram,
Aye.
Member Koza,
Aye.
Member Carbone.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Real quick, before we move to Mr. Fernandez, these positions, members of the public, they work for the Central Appraisal District, or they work on the board for the Central Appraisal District. We put forth citizens to be on that board, and what this does is they're not part of saying, here's your value, or here's this. They're not even the appraisal review board that you would go in front of to testify and protest your appraisal. They're really the board. It's the administrative board. They run the day-to-day operation along with the chief appraiser and over the governance of the actual appraisal district. So I know it seems kind of formal that we're going through this, but these folks aren't looking at your actual appraisal. So they're just the day-to-day operation and running the appraisal district. With that, Mr. Fernandez, if you will present new business item number 4.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action resolution number R 2025-165 to include the names Martina Lemon-Dixon and Melissa Nuega. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Fernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram,
Aye.
Member Koza,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Cade.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, sounds good. We are pulling new business item number 5 to a future agenda. With that, we're back to number 6. Mr. Koza, if you'd present that, please.
Certainly, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2025-178. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. This is our annual intent to reimburse resolution that's part of our budget process. This resolution allows us to be able to move forward with our capital improvement program projects that and expenditures associated with those that were approved as part of the fiscal year 26 budget. And then it allows us to reimburse those expenditures from our debt sale, which we schedule for the spring every year. So when we sell debt in spring of 26, we'll be able to reimburse those project expenditures. The intent to reimburse does match the recently approved CIP budget. So ready to get those projects kicked off and move forward with the approval of this, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions, comments? Mr. Carbone?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. In this list, there's a section for certificates of obligations. And could you quickly go through what our financial policy is and I guess confirm that these projects fit in the CO approval process?
I'll try to hit all the highlights and maybe I can get some backup from the folks over here. So we use COs in the general fund for matching funds when we get state and federal funds. We use them if we've got a bond program, a bond project that for one reason or another has come in, the costs have come in higher than expected when it was moved forward with a bond project and there's not an ability to scale back the scope of that project. And then when we have other sources of funding, like not like water and sewer funds, that's another place where we, if we're matching a project where we're doing a water and sewer project, we're able to use certificates of obligation for the general fund side of those things. And then we look at other projects, and if there's not a funding source, is there a necessity to move forward with those projects? So I believe all these were vetted through the budget process and do meet the financial policies for use of COs.
That last one you mentioned was pretty vague. Like basically, if we deem that we need to issue a CO, we can. I thought we buckled down that language.
I believe we did. I don't have it right in front of me. I don't know if we have it pulled up. But what I intended there is if it's something we determine, like the traffic signal we're looking at tonight for approval, the traffic signal at Dixie Farm Road and Friendswood Hastings.
Safety and security.
I believe that one, I'll have to confirm, but believe that one is funded through that mechanism. And so when there's a project like that where we determine it's a necessity to move forward with it from a public safety standpoint, then we'll use those that source of funds.
Okay. I'd say going forward, anytime we see COs, I know our policy states that we have to tie that back to the approved reason. Could we have that in the future intents? Because I think the policy also says we have to publish that on our website as well. So
yes, sir.
Doing the work, might as well get it out here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good comment. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, with that, we'll move to new business item number 7. Mr. Carbone.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, Resolution R 2025-103. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Before we go to staff report, we do have a citizen that signed up to speak to this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Joe Bryant, you would make your way to the podium and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you for being here this evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Joe Bryant. I'm here on behalf of Ballast Point Construction, whose address is 5361 Highway Boulevard, Texas, Katy, Texas, 77494. I'm here about the resolution R2025-103, which is the possible award of a construction services contract for the Sherwood Street Reconstruction and Waterline Replacement Project to Environmental Allies, who was the third lowest bidder. My client, Ballast Point Construction, was the lowest bidder by a little more than $270,000. Other than that, the reason that we're opposed to this award is that you would expect that big of a difference to be accompanied by some sort of, compelling reason why the second or third lowest bidder was chosen. But the two reasons that we understand based on the documents provided, neither one makes sense. The first is from the September 16th letter from Mr. Stephen Ray from Cobb Finley. He points to a questionnaire that was filled out wrong. This error should have been corrected back in, I believe, June or July. I provided an email that shows that being corrected. In that same email, Mr. Hajar, the president of Ballast Point, requested additional information if Ballast wasn't being awarded the project as to why. No other information was ever provided. We learned through this document that the other reason that Mr. Ray cites to is, in essence, bad references, which is very confusing. The other documents that I've provided, if you look at the second and third documents, are city minutes city agenda items from Jersey Village and from Sugarland for similar projects that Ballast Point was awarded. Importantly, these projects were situations where Ballast Point actually was a higher bid than Environmental Allies, but Ballast Point was awarded the project due to their qualifications and references. If you look, the Jersey Village one in particular has some very negative commentary on Environmental Allies and their ability to do this type of project. The same can be seen for the Sugarland project. The last document that I provided was a email chain related to another Pearland project that Ballast Point successfully completed, had no complaints about. So to the extent that there are negative references, we're unaware of them and nobody's said anything to Ballast Point. In conclusion, we're just opposed to this award because, as I said, it seems like it's being awarded to the third highest bidder with no rationale for why they should get the award above Ballast Point. Thank you.
If we have any questions, we may call on you to represent the company if we have some. With that, we'll go to staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This item does award a construction contract for the reconstruction of the roadway and the water line infrastructure within the Sherwood area, which is some of our oldest concrete street infrastructure. And so it was included in our 2019 bond program for full replacement in that neighborhood. We did receive 9 bids, and based on the evaluation by our team and the engineer's recommendation, we are recommending award to Environmental Allies in the indicated amount, which is a little over $9.5 million. We do have representatives here from Cobb Finley that did do the reference checks, and we can, certainly dig into those. But my understanding is that the question they had answered was, does the undersigned company have adequate equipment, personnel, and expertise to complete the proposed contract? They may have come back and corrected that, but the reference checks has cited challenges in completing the project task within the approved project duration. This being a neighborhood street reconstruction project, we are right in people's front yards. We're impacting their ability to get to and from their houses and in and out of their driveways. So very important to make sure we have a good award here. So. If there's any questions, we've got the right people here to answer those. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Might be good. Is Cobb Finley? I see him over here. Probably should address that a little bit more from your standpoint, reference checks, where, what, and how.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Stephen Ray, the engineer of record with Cobb Finley on this project. And as was mentioned, we did some reference checks and did go through the recommendation in full prior to it being provided to staff. So as you can see and was mentioned, we did make it to the third bidder for recommendation. The apparent low bidder who spoke here today, we did make note of the questionnaire, which in terms of contract, this does have to be completed in full and correct. It's got to be the lowest responsible bidder. And in addition to that, there were some challenges that were cited from one reference in particular, but we spoke to several on behalf of the low bidder. The particular challenges that were noted, one of them was significantly longer contract duration, which is something that we're concerned about on neighborhood projects, obviously. And then in relation to that, one of them actually, or the same reference actually noted that the project was not completed in full, and they had somebody come and on the second phase actually complete the tasks that were required for that particular project. So we did speak to some others. With reference checks, occasionally you get some that have no comment. You have others that say, we felt like their work was average, but I in terms of completion, when you see something that is, twice the duration and significantly delayed and then not complete, it's definitely a concern, particularly on a neighborhood project.
Abiola, do you have something to add to that? I see you up there. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Any other questions, comments from council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. In addition to checking the references, do you guys have direct experience working with either the firm that's being recommended or the firm that spoke this evening?
So we have not, to my knowledge, worked with the apparent low bidder. We have worked with the third. We had also worked with the number 2. But yes, we have worked with the recommended contractor on this project.
Okay. Can you speak to that experience? I mean, I realize you're recommending them, but can you?
Sure. Yes, so definitely we've had a positive work that's positive references in terms of work that's been completed. Things have been timely. Communication has been well. Also, those projects are inclusive of storm sewer, utility relocation. So some of the similar scope of work that you'll see in terms of what this project has. In summary, that was all completed and was acceptable. And generally, we didn't have any schedule issues with them in the past.
Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. The first gentleman that spoke, your first name was Joe. I didn't catch, are you with Ballast Point? Can you go to the podium?
I'm Ballast Point's attorney. Yes, sir.
So they sent an attorney here tonight? That's enough. Thank you. I mean, yeah, this could end up being a nightmare for the residents.
Mr. Cousin?
Thank you, Mayor. I know Stephen's here from Cobb Finley. Back in 2015, 2016, y'all oversaw a project for us over on Old Alvin and Orange Street. Member Carbone was on council at the time, and y'all did a wonderful job. There's Brad. He was involved with the process of rebuilding those streets, basically taking them from asphalt to concrete, curb and gutter, and y'all oversaw. It was a different contractor altogether. Did a wonderful job with that project, and from my point of view, this neighborhood has residents that have lived here for quite a while. One thing that I would suggest, and if y'all need help in doing it, since it is, in residents' backyard, I know several people that live in this neighborhood, and I'd be more than willing to work with y'all to help. But if y'all want a liaison to the neighborhood to work with y'all and the contractor, I'd be more than happy to work with y'all to find somebody.
We very much appreciate that.
Because it worked out wonderful from my perspective during that time period. So,
yeah, we agree. Thank you.
Brent, that was a question. I was going to ask was after award, obviously there's contracting, notice to proceed, and all that kind of stuff. Because it's in a neighborhood, what's the communication? What's the next steps with communication to the residents?
Yes, I do know they're aware of the project and have been communicated with that the project is in process. But I'll ask Fabiola to maybe expound upon what we'll do for communication with the residents as we move to construction.
We'll be submitting door hangers to the residents and also notifying them through social media. And we'll also try to contact HOA if there's one. To us, for them to see if they can put some sort of newsletter. That information is also posted on our webpage, but we will be in close communication with the residents that will be affected.
And that communication would give them project managers, on-site construction managers, all the pertinent folks of who to call. Yes, sir.
Everbridge, I'm assuming, with those who are tied into Everbridge. But any other questions, comments?
Is there anybody from Environmental Allies here this evening? You guys, can you make your way to the podium? Thank you, fellas. Since you guys are subject of some of the information that's provided this evening, I thought it would at least be fair for you to have a voice in the conversation. We were provided with some information from City of Jersey Village here, basically speaking to the opposite scenario, that you were awarded a contract. There were performance issues, pattern of poor workmanship, inadequate project oversight, high turnover rate. I appreciate the information, but I also want to give you the opportunity to speak to the situation and defend yourself rather than just be thrown at.
Yeah, I'll go. So yeah, we did.
Go ahead and give us your name for the record.
Oh, sorry, Stephen Hamilton with Environmental Allies. We did have a few challenges on the Jersey Village project, but at the same time, we completed in a timely manner. No LDs. We were awarded a retainage back on the project. And we've done several other projects the past 5-6 years with local municipalities around Houston area. Never had any issues or problems either. So we look forward to working with the city of Pearland and getting this job done and getting improvements for your residents.
I'm Rodolfo Serrano with Environmental Allies Operations Manager for the company. I can tell you guys right now, I mean, we have probably, 15, 20 jobs currently going, and we are sitting schedule-wise on all of them in a positive way. So we're either ahead of schedule or beating the schedule by 20 to 30%. There's probably going to be little slowdown on the job when it comes to that, and we're pretty good at communicating with the residents. So any worries that you guys have, we're usually on the job. I mean, we have the president walk the job. I mean, that's how involved we are with the community. So our number is always going to be out there. If they need to get in touch with somebody high up in the company, we're a phone call away.
Sounds good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Cousin?
And just talking to EA, the experience that I saw back with in 2015-16 with the Orange and Old Alvin, if you work with Cobb Finley in the neighborhood, it turns out to be a very positive experience. Going through the process, when you tear somebody's streets up and their ability to get in and out, it kind of upsets the status quo, if you want to call it that. And it just makes it that much better. I know the neighbors in this given area ended up having a barbecue for everybody that was on the contractor side, the engineering firm, the neighborhood came out, and it was a very positive experience. So hopefully when you get into this neighborhood that we have similar situation, because I do know quite a few people that live in that area. So.
Absolutely. We understand the importance of disrupting their lives, their everyday lives, but it's at the end of the day, we're trying to improve it. And, we look forward to working with y'all and with you and whoever you have, and with Stephen on this project. So.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good deal. Last call, questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Cade?
No.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1.
All right. With that, back to you, Mr. Byram. If you'll present item 8, please.
Consideration possible action, resolution number R2025-160. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This item awards a construction contract for the traffic signal and the intersection improvements at Dixie Farm Road and Hastings Friendswood. We received 3 bids and recommend award to Metro City LLC in the amount of $612,147. Thank you, Mayor.
Sounds good. Any questions, comments? All I'll state is just glad to see this coming. It's been a pretty rough intersection over on Dixie Farm Road. Quite a few accidents, and I think several motorcycle deaths, actually, fatalities at this intersection. So glad to see this underway, and hopefully can get completed pretty quick. So
that's what I was going to ask. Just roughly what kind of timeline are we looking at? I don't remember.
So the contract timeline, I believe, is 300 days to substantial completion. A big portion of that is going to be lead time on your traffic signal mast arms and the associated decorative portions of the poles themselves. That usually what drives the time frame on traffic signals. So I would expect if those come in earlier, they'll complete earlier because the rest of the work doesn't take that long.
So give or take 10 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
all right. With that, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Sounds good. Ms. Cade, number 9, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, resolution number R2025-161. So moved.
Second.
Motion, a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This item awards a contract for the purchase of synthetic turf and a retrofit of the 4 softball infields at the sports complex at Shadow Creek Ranch. The council just recently approved in the FY26 budget this project, and it's funded by our hotel occupancy taxes through Visit Pearland. This change to the artificial turf infields will enhance our ability to host tournaments and also have fields more readily available for local play, as those, when we have weather, those are much quicker to be prepared for play. The schedule has the fields ready for play when the tournament season resumes in early 2026. So we are recommending approval with Paragon Sports in the amount of just a little over $2.26 million. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, throw it open for questions, comments, concerns from council. Got one? Mr. Koza?
Yes, on this item right here, I don't know if it's Tracy or who it might be on this expenditure. Does this hit our ROI on this type of expenditure?
Yes, sir. It has that 5-year ROI requirement, and so we've got a couple of different ways to backstop that. Potentially, we're talking about the potential TERS amendment later this evening. That's one way, and another way is through the Pearland Economic Development Corporation. So a couple different ways to potentially backstop that before it would hit the general fund if we do not make the ROI.
Okay, and what are we looking at right now? I mean, on a 5-year, that's roughly $450,000 a year. What are we looking at right now on the tournaments?
So maybe Tracy, I know Tracy ran a model of if we do this project and what we can expect in potential additional tournaments, and maybe she can cover, what we looked at in that model. I think it had us real close to covering the cost, but maybe Tracy can weigh in on that.
Yes, so we did prepare a 5-year forecast during the budget discussions coming out of the July 14th workshop. And over the 5-year plan, we estimated about $2.7 million. Obviously, it's going to fluctuate depending on the agreements and weather and a lot of different variables, including ADR, et cetera. But based on the information that we have available today, we projected out that 5-year plan that was furnished to council in a memo shortly after the July 14th workshop.
So looking at this right here, you're telling me that your forecast is roughly $540 per year on the ROI versus $452 for the expenditure.
In the forecast that we laid out, it varies. Like fiscal year 2026, we projected $450,000, and then it would incrementally increase. So by the time we hit fiscal year 2030, we would be looking at an estimation of $616,000 in revenue. It's a gradual increase.
Understand. I'm looking at just the averages is what I'm looking at to make sure that, we're in the area of getting it covered.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Rick, were you? Okay. With that, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right. Mr. Fernandez, number 10, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action resolution number R2025-170. So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This item approves the purchase of the second half of our self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department, or their air packs. If you recall, at the very end of fiscal year 25, we bought half of the air packs with FY25 dollars, and this second tranche of air packs was budgeted in 26. So that, in essence, puts the entire department on common equipment. So we're recommending award to Metro Fire in the amount of $910,932. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Moving to number 11, Mr. Koza, present that, please.
Certainly, Mayor. Consideration possible action Resolution number R 2025-176. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. So as the lower Kirby area continues to grow, the Kirby North Lift Station will be approaching its capacity, and it's at near 20 years old, is due for rehabilitation soon. So this resolution provides a couple of different things to support the expansion of the lift station. First, it includes a reimbursement agreement between the city and the Pearland Economic Development Corporation, which allows the Pearland EDC to front the funds for this project, which then would be reimbursed to the EDC when the city gets reimbursed from the Lower Kirby Management District, which ultimately will pay for this project. So then the second piece of what this does tonight is it authorizes a letter of financing agreement with the Lower Kirby Pearland Management District, so that management district can reimburse these expenditures. Right now, it just covers the design cost with the expectation that by the time we go to construction, the district will be able to directly fund the construction cost. So this project, and the result of it is it eliminates the need for the city to fund a planned rehab of this lift station. We can go ahead and expand it and rehab it all in one, working through the management district as well as working with the Pearland Economic Development Corporation. So we recommend approval of the reimbursement agreement with PEDC and the letter of financing agreement with the management district. Thank you, Mayor.
Sounds good. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Koza,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Cade,
Aye.
Member Fernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Very good. With that, we'll move to other business. There were none listed there. We do have a couple of items for mayor council issues for city council discussion. I guess other issues, I guess the first one could have gone under other.
Yes, sir. I believe the other one could have gone under other or new business as a discussion item, got placed here. I think we're still okay talking about it. But Mayor, we put this item on the agenda to present and to get feedback from the council on an opportunity to amend TERS 2, the TERS 2 plan, as the capacity of the TERS has again continued to grow since the last TERS amendment, creating this opportunity. So much like the last couple of amendments, it would allow us to accelerate some infrastructure projects and park enhancements with minimal impacts or cost to the city itself. So we've had discussion with all the TERS participants, being Fort Bend County, Brazoria County, and Alvin School District, and they have voiced no opposition to the amendment or the projects. It does not extend the life of the TERS. I think that's a question we've gotten throughout this. So the TERS would still conclude in 2029. But now at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Joel Hardy to present the details. We also have representatives from Marsh Darcy, who are our TERS administrator here, Sue Darcy, as well as Alan Mueller, if we've got any questions or need anything, any enhancements to what we have to present. So hand it off to Joel. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Epperson, for setting the stage. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you again for allowing us a little bit more of your time tonight. I think one of the first things we want to do is really kind of break down what a TERS is. We hear the term, and I've heard it for years, but didn't really know exactly what it entailed. So I want to make sure we get some education out there. Basically very similar to municipal utility districts, other types of special purpose districts. This is an economic development tool that basically allows us to make infrastructure improvements in a dedicated boundary or zone with the intent of enhancing the development of the community in a way that would not otherwise occur. And so in this case, the zone is established and all or a portion of the tax on the increased value of the zone is captured and put in a separate account and utilized to reimburse developers for the projects that they conduct in the zone. And the developer is at risk, and we only reimburse when those projects are completed, the tax increment has been generated and audited by our independent auditor. So I wanted to set the stage with a little bit of information in that regard. We do have our partners with Marsh Darcy. Alan Mueller has been involved in oversight and management for the program over the years. And we're gonna do a little bit of a dance tonight. He'll provide a lot of the structural information, and then I'll come back later and talk about the actual amendment details. But with that said, Alan, I want to pass it to you, and I'll work the slides as you instruct.
Thank you.
Again, Alan Mueller with Marsh Darcy Partners, also here with Sue Darcy, the president of Marsh Darcy Partners. So quick step back, 1997, I was a deputy city manager here in Pearland, which is why I'm still involved with this after all these years. Sue actually started out representing the developer. I represented the city in all the negotiations with the TERS. Mayor Cole was here, but I know many of you others probably were not. So just a quick history. Because I think it's easy to think that Shadow Creek would just be Shadow Creek automatically, and that was anything but the case back in 1997. So this snapshot that we have here is 288 is just off the right-hand side of the slide. There was over 147 separate parcels out there that were all in various ownerships from 5 acres up to 100 acres or so. Only a very small strip along 288 was actually in the city limits. Most of this was not in the city limits, and in fact, the Fort Bend County portion wasn't even in the ETJ. So that was a separate deal that we did to bring the ETJ over to 521 and up to the Beltway, again, in 1997, 1998 timeframe. There were no city utilities out here at all. They stopped at what was the Albertsons, which is now the Food Town, and so we needed a way to make all of this happen. We were already at the city getting a lot of pressure for piecemeal development. People were coming in for pre-development meetings on 50 acres here, 50 acres there. They wanted to do ETJ MUDs. They wanted to do their own utility plants. And in fact, the property where the library sits today had actually been purchased by a company that was going to do a tank farm for fuel distribution. We were able to head that off at the pass, get it annexed, and actually purchase that property. And it is the library today. So there was a lot of sort of negative pressures that were happening. And then in 1998, the Collins brothers walked through the door with a proposal. And that's when we got on board with them. So go ahead. So the goals that, again, back in 1997, 1998, what we wanted to do was many things, but the key thing with the TERS was it gave them the economic tool and the incentive to aggregate all of those 147 parcels of land, gave them the surety to know that if they entered into those contracts that they'd have a long-term agreement. From the city's perspective, it gave us the opportunity to have a cohesive master plan development that would not have happened otherwise. It would have been a whole bunch of little independent parcels. Would have been a lot of piecemeal development. We would have been having to do a lot of oversizing agreements, and there would probably still today be a lot of unused parcels that just couldn't fill in. Gave us the opportunity to extend those city utilities out to the property, and also at the same time, we entered into an agreement with the city of Houston to bring our first water connection off of McCard Road into the city. All of that was happened because of the TERS. At the time, I think the city had something like 35 lift stations, and we were about 35,000 people, which is what Shadow Creek is today, and it has 1 lift station. So the ability to do master planning on the utilities created a much more efficient system in the long run. And also the integrated detention system that you see out there today with all the interconnected lakes is a lot more efficient than 100 independent little detention ponds. So those were the goals. That's why we entered into the TERS back then. If you would have told Sue and I that we'd still be here 27 years later, we wouldn't have believed you, but here we are. We'll talk about these other 2 items a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. So if you can imagine the different jurisdictions that had geographic presence in that area, maximizing their participation, also maximize the availability of capturing as much increment as possible towards the TERS. So we've got 4 in that area. Of course, the city of Pearland acting as the administrator. Alvin ISD had annexed into that area, and so they had domain over the school system and education efforts in that area. And of course, Brazoria County and the piece of Fort Bend County that represents part of the zone as well. So the TERS created, again, 1998 in December, 30-year term. 4 MUDs were actually formed within the TERS. I think statutorily there was an allowance for 6. These are the 4 that we're familiar with that have been operating in the development capacity that they have. Fort Bend number 1, and Brazoria MUDs number 26, 34, and 35. There is board oversight over the TERS. It's consultant managed, with, of course, Marsh Darcy with ABHR providing legal support. And we have 2 staff members, myself and Melissa Saxton, acting as the 2 employees that liaison with the organizations involved. Here's our board of directors for the TERS, many familiar names that have been around for a while. Each of the participants has the ability to nominate board members, and that 9-member board is chaired by Kenneth Phillips, who's our designee. And I mentioned the configuration of staff and consultants that work on this on a day-to-day basis. Important to mention LJA Engineering is the TERS engineer, and McGrath provides the auditing for all the LFAs prior to approval for reimbursement. And I'm gonna pass it back down.
Right, a lot of words on this slide. Try to be brief, but again, just a little more of the history of why things are the way they are. But I did also want to mention briefly that Marsh Darcy Partners, after the zone was created, ended up being the administrator for the zone all the way through about 2011, contract administrator. At that time, the city staff at that time elected to take the administration in-house. And then about 5 years later, they decided that it wasn't very much fun, and so they called Sue back. I guess that's how Sue and I got reconnected back together. So we've been working on this since about 2016. But again, as Joel mentioned earlier, the TERS is set up so that all or a portion of that incremental tax that's generated within the boundaries of the zone go into a special fund, choose to either pay debt service or to make reimbursements. For participants, City of Pearland technically participates at a full 100% of the taxes, but there is an administrative payment that comes back to the city. And you can see it was staggered over time. That 36% was key because in 1997 and 1998, that 36% of the tax rate represented the debt service portion of the tax rate. So the idea is all the infrastructure there was being funded, so we could afford to reinvest the debt service portion, and the 64% was the M&O portion that would continue to come to the city to pay for operations and maintenance. Over time, that number has fluctuated higher, but I think it's kind of working back towards that right now. But that is the arrangement for the TERS. Brazoria County, you're going to hear, you're going to hear a lot of times it's talked about as 38% of their tax rate, which is what it was negotiated on, but in the final agreement, that was converted to a specific tax rate number, 0.1359, but it was negotiated based off of 38% of their tax rate at the time. And then similarly, Fort Bend County had a three-tier step where it started at 100%, 75%, 50% of their tax rate. In the actual agreement, those numbers were converted to specific numbers to make administration easier. So currently, we're in years 21 through 30, so they're participating in an equivalent tax rate of 0.31205. Alvin ISD also participates technically at 100%, but then they take 75% back directly, and that pays for the construction of the schools as well as the operations of the schools. And that was something else that was really key at the time of the development, because typically, when you see a master plan community building fast, the schools can't keep up, and then that slows down the pace of the absorption and the momentum. And so by having this structure with Alvin AISD, it gave them a dedicated revenue stream to be able to fund the buildings and keep up with the pace of development as things went. Go ahead. These numbers are through 2024, so if you look at all the increment that's been collected, the big 47% there is green. That's Alvin ISD, so that obviously shows that they're a key participant. The city's at 33% of the total that's been collected. Brazoria at 13, Fort Bend County at 7. One thing I wanted to note about Alvin ISD's participation, they are the last school district that was able to participate in a TERS because the law changed in 1999. And we actually signed their agreement one day before the law changed. And so their participation in these last 27 years has been really key to the success of the financing of Shadow Creek. And then if you look at the value over time, the orange line is what was projected in 1998 as the value. The base year value out there was just a little over $7 million. It was projected to max out at around $2 million. And in 2025, the preliminary estimate of value was about $4.2 billion. So we think the TERS has been successful. Again, the idea behind the TERS is that, but for the TERS, you would not have this level of value today. It would be something much less than that, and so it's worthwhile to make that investment for a period of years to have a higher tax rate or a higher tax value at the end of the day. There's been 5 amendments up to this point. The first 2 really were developer-driven. The original TERS was about 3,500 acres, and then the property south of Broadway was added in that first amendment in 2006. The second amendment was for the area that's around the HEB. That property was in the TERS, but there were no project costs associated with that. So that was an amendment to allow for all of those projects. Amendment 3 was the first city-initiated amendment that paid for the first extension of Broadway west of 288 into its current form. And then in amendments 4 and 5 came about after 2016, I guess 2018-19 timeframe. And that's when it became very apparent that the TERS was quite outperforming the projections. All the original developers were being paid off. And so the city saw an opportunity to be able to advance fund some projects by adding these projects into the zone. And so that, I think, kind of brings you up to date with where things are. So I'll turn it back. I think that's the end of my part.
You were doing such a good job, though, Alan. So I think overall we want to, acknowledge that the TERS has performed, far exceeding its original projections, and the increment that's been captured will allow us to continue to consider using the available funds for the intended purpose, which is to put value on the ground. At the end of the day, there will be some disbursements available to the participants, but I think, again, we want to fulfill the impetus of the TERS to put that value on the ground. This slide basically just provides what Marsh Darcy has kind of helped us manage over the years, which is a perspective on the projected distributions at the end of the zone. And these numbers come from pretty much no AV growth, very conservatively. So the projected balance is right now being looked at as $48.9 million to be distributed based on the participation percentages of each of the partners. So the real interest for us tonight is to provide information about proposed amendment number 6. And I think we really want to do two things. I think the first priority would be to add some of the undeveloped land to the parkland dedication elements of the community and make some related public facility improvements. So there is a land acquisition component. Some has a direct nexus to parkland rededication, some to facility improvements in the sportsplex. And there is an opportunity that we might use some of that acquired land to do a much needed expansion of the library parking at the West Library. Estimated cost of those projects comes to just under $20 million. And the other component would be to make some simple street improvements. There's a planned expansion of Kingsley Drive at Clear Creek all the way to Beltway 8. Right now that's a 2-lane bridge. With a proximity to the zone, this is a good opportunity to participate in the expansion of that road and make that 2-lane configure into the 4-lane expansion that's planned for that road. And secondly, there's a stretch of Broadway Street right in front of Shadow Creek Ranch High School that currently has a little bit of a awkward median situation, and it collapses from 3 lanes down into 2 lanes. We want to give us the opportunity to expand that road so it's consistent as far down as we can get to FM 521. And the estimated cost for those 2 projects is $14.06 million. These slides just kind of provide some aerials of the different projects that we're talking about. The land acquisitions would involve land that's currently owned by UT Board of Regents just north of Shadow Creek in the vicinity of Fire Station 8 and the library. And to the right, Axel Noble owns land that is west of Shadow Creek Sportsplex that we would utilize in part for the park expansion. There are some proposed expansion and improvement to Shadow Creek Sportsplex with these funds. Some involve parking, sidewalks, additional play courts, concession structures. There's an opportunity to help with some of the turf work improvements in the park as well, and also to fund the 3,100 linear feet of 10-foot sidewalk recreational trail that's adjacent to Clear Creek that would continue the Clear Creek Trail projects along the creek throughout the city. And lastly, the two street improvement projects I mentioned, the Broadway Kirby to as far down to Fort Bend County as we can get, taking that 2-lane segment to a 3-lane road expansion, and the Kingsley Bridge at Alameda School Road and Clear Creek. So just to recap, this is the proposed cost for those two elements. These are in today's dollars. So we do anticipate an increase based on CPI and interest costs. As Alan kind of mentioned, we have met with the partners. So we've sat with Alvin ISD's representatives, Brazoria County, Fort Bend County, and everyone is in consensus with the fact that these are projects that we can support. Tonight's council input and discussion will proceed several other actions that would need to take place. Of course, the TERS board would need to authorize preparation of a plan amendment. They would also have to meet separately again to consider the actual recommendation. And council would end up ultimately approving the amendment with a public hearing and 2 readings of the ordinance. And this is just kind of an estimated project implementation schedule. Again, the zone ends in 2029. So we would need to be completing these projects prior to the end of the zone. And with that said, I believe we're finished with staff report.
Does that conclude?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, we'll open it up for questions, comments from council. Mr. Carbone?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I can remember meeting with Alan when I first got on the Development Authority back when the blue line was well below the orange line, and they were concerned the developers wouldn't get reimbursed. So yeah, so it's not nice being in this position. Talking through the numbers, there was a 48.9 million of, I guess, remaining value.
I'd say I'd call it the capacity that the TERS has to fund additional projects.
Okay, so 48.9, and we're approved. Where the amendment would be 33.5 million. What about the projects that have already been approved, but the audits haven't been done? Is that the gap, or what's the true projected gap?
The 48 is above and beyond the current projects that are in the plan and approved. So the 48's true capacity.
So why, are there any other identified or potential projects to soak up the other 15 million?
I think we've always got infrastructure needs, so we could look at that. I know when we were discussing, the projects with some of the participants, there was when they see these numbers and they're like, oh, there's, something coming back at the end of the TERS. So we kind of wanted to strike a balance between soaking it all up versus having something there at the end of the TERS. And, with this assuming no additional assessed value growth, that number will probably go up a little bit as well. But that number also, as Joel mentioned, we've got to take the 32 or 34 we have in there. This number would have to also cover, the way that works is when you amend the plan, you set those dollar amounts for those particular projects at that time. And then when you go into your letter of financing agreement with the TERS, that resets the number based on the CPI increase from when it was amended into the TERS. So what you have available for your project grows from the amendment to the TERS to the point you put in your letter of financing agreement. And then you also get reimbursed with interest at the end of the project once you're audited. So that'll have to soak up the CPI and the interest as well. So we were trying to strike a balance there.
Okay. No, I think this amendment makes sense.
Just wanted to add, just brief, Trent's exactly right. And when you factor in that $34 million of projects with the CPI plus the interest, that 49 becomes about 5 million left over. So that's probably about as close as you want to cut it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think it's a great idea. And thanks for bringing this to us. And now I guess it's getting the amendment pushed through and then trying to get everything on the ground and done by the end of 29.
We always need a good
quick turn,
good deadline.
Any other questions, comments? I agree. I think it's a great opportunity for us to actually do some things that maybe we wouldn't otherwise do, but for the TERS, but for the other way. We didn't do the TERS, we didn't get that development out there, but for the TERS, and now, but for the TERS, we're able to do some of these things. I think getting some of the parkland, being able to potentially expand the recreational opportunities that are out there is huge. I mean, that is something that we see and get pressure. Every single one of our fields are full all the time. The other opportunity of just some of the natural land that's out there, it's in another governmental entity's hands now, but getting it into our hands, even if it's undeveloped. I mean, we don't get many opportunities to have just natural wooded land under our control, and we know it's going to stay that way. We just don't get that opportunity, and as you look at an aerial map, you see it doesn't exist much. So when it does, and we have the ability, but for the TERS, to be able to do that, I think it's a win. So then certainly the improvements on the roadway are greatly needed out there. I guess what would be the timing on all that? Because obviously this thing's going to come to an end in about 4 years.
So we have a loose schedule here, I would say, but we really are going to have to hit the ground running once we get the amendment in place to get some of these things started, especially the infrastructure improvements on Kingsley as well as Broadway, just so we can get those designed, get those constructed before we get to the end.
Bob?
I won't rehash everything other than to agree. I think it's great. I think they're great projects. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree. I think this is a much needed. I think this is a great way to utilize this. Trent, just a quick question. Looking at the packet here, I see often where it says, that the TERS ends in December 31st, 2028, but then I also hear y'all say 29 into 29. So I'm just a little clarification.
So I'm going to defer to somebody who was around when it started.
I was going to say
all sorted
year
out.
29, or what does that mean?
Yes. So Sue can help me out on this too, and the attorney's not here, so we'll pretend. But yes, the zone ordinance created it for a 30-year life ending on December 31, 2028. So that means that those are taxes that are due based off of your 1/1/28 value, which comes in FY29, which starts October of 29. We've been advised by the attorney that since your last debt service payment from the zone is scheduled for September 1st of 2029, that all zone operations must be complete, wrapped up, done by September 1, 2029.
Thank you.
You taught him well, Sue.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take this opportunity. You may not see me around after this because I don't think we're going to have any more money to spend after this one. But I did want you to know that this has been a pleasure to work on. It's been a project of a lifetime, and Alan and I are both so thankful that we had the opportunity to work for you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been kind of amazing being in the room when this was first contemplated, and then now here we are towards the end, and
It's hard to imagine the years in between, so it's been good. Last call, questions, comments? Seeing none, we will,
I was just going to say, I think with the feedback tonight, we'll move forward with the schedule that we presented tonight and have this back in front of you as soon as we can get through the TERS and see you in December.
good deal. With that, we'll move to the second item, council discussion regarding short-term rental regulations, including an update on current regulations and potential regulatory amendments. Before we get to a staff report, we do have two people who signed up to speak. Mayor Pro Tem will present those. You'll go to the podium, give us your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Darrell Knight, if you make your way to the podium, state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak, and thank you for coming. And Mr. Lance Willis, you want to back up right behind him? And I see.
Yes, my name is Darrell Knight. I live at Green Tea Terrace at 3010 Green Tea. I'm also right now the current acting president for our HOA, and we are strongly recommending that the council increase the regulations on short-term rentals. We've had some issues in our neighborhood, and as a voluntary HOA, it's very difficult for us to really we don't have a stick basically to force people to comply, but all of our deed restrictions in our subdivision say that it's a single dwelling home, single family dwelling, and the only option for having additional quarters is for, quote, servants over the garage. So if the city could come up with some regulations that would provide us, when we identify that, we could come to y'all to get some relief. We've had several homes that are in bad shape, people trying to rent them out by the room or put multiple families in them. We've had several issues in there. So if y'all could strengthen that regulation, it'd greatly help us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Willis, state your name for the record. You got 3 minutes to speak. Thank you for being here.
My name is Lance Willis, and I'm also a resident of Green Tea Terrace. And want to talk a little bit more about the why that I think share a perspective not only with how I feel, but also I think most homeowners and most people of Pearland would feel. And I'll start out with the real simple stuff. I have family, and there's a house 43 steps from my house that mostly has been unoccupied the last 2 years. Prior to that, it was rented out by the room. Went and looked at an old website where they were advertising to rent 5 rooms in that house at a rate between $650 and $950 a month. I think that ended a couple of years ago when the home was repossessed. It has sat empty since then. Someone has started to mow the grass recently, and that concerns us that they're going to start trying to rent it by the room again, which gives us great concern, because the last time there were reports of prostitution, there were reports of drug sales, there was a lot of issues there. On the other side of my house, a full 60 steps away, I stopped and counted them both before I came to this meeting today. Somebody was trying to run a halfway house against the laws as well for that, the deed restrictions there. And I've got 4 grandkids. 3 of them, actually I have 7, 4 in Pearland. 3 of them are currently still in the school system, and they can get off at any time at our house at the bus, right in front and very close, 40 to 60 feet from those other 2 houses. And my family doesn't feel safe. My next door neighbors, who I wish could be here tonight, they were out of town, probably has more information on this house at 3016 Country Club than anybody I've ever seen. She has monitored them. She's watched all the goings on. She's reported it to my wife, and it's just not a safe environment for the people of Green Tea, their children who jog, who ride bikes, who go right by those houses every day. Even my 9-year-old granddaughter notices that house is always dark. The yard's usually not mowed, and it's in a state of just disrepair, and yet they're starting to try to rent it again. This is great concern to us, but it's not just us. If you live anywhere in Pearland and we don't get some stronger restrictions, all of us are subject to these kind of people, renting these houses by the month and coming in and bringing all kinds of people that we have no control of that can't normally afford to live in that subdivision that may or may not be breaking the law and leaving all of us in an unsafe situation for us and our families. And for that, I ask the city council, the mayor, the city manager to please do something to try to help us prevent this from happening.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I wanted to get that on the record. Go to Mr. Koza. You're the one that requested this. I know Ms. Chavarria was your second. She's not here tonight, but open it up with you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I guess about 3 years ago, roughly, we passed this ordinance, and what I was interested in to see what we have collected in hot taxes, what we've done with the ordinance, how it's performed. Is there any good, any bad that staff sees that we need to shore anything up, and basically just kind of see with Mr. Willis and Mr. Knight here this evening. It's one of those deals that until something like this is next to you, you're pretty blind to it. And then once something like this does happen, it opens your eyes to people in our city that purchased a home under a zone called single-family residential. All of a sudden, it becomes multifamily. And so that's what my concern was to see what the different short-term rentals, the different things, because the one website that Mr. Willis mentioned, when it was showed to me, I was kind of interested in the fact that I considered it either a hotel or somebody said a boarding house. When you rent, you have a 5-bedroom home that turns into a rental by the room. And it was kind of interesting to read the advertisements because it would list that we have 2 males in the home right now, we're looking for a female, or 3 females and we're looking for a male. I don't know why, if you're gonna rent by the room, what a gender would matter. I would think you're looking for more of a tenant at that point, but to me it's kind of odd to take a single-family residential zoned area and turn it into multifamily. So that's kind of what I was looking for. I don't know if Tracy has any backdrop through our short-term rental stuff of what we have, how the ordinance, how many short-term rentals we have in our city, that type of stuff.
So if I could jump in real quick, that's actually administered through community development. I know Tracy and the occupancy tax are paid for the original company doing it. And so,
Okay.
we were waiting to get the input from the entire council as to what was expected or wanted for us to move forward. So we haven't done a full report up. I know we do currently under the short-term rental ordinance have 19, I believe it is, registered there. But we haven't gone much beyond that, just waiting to see what the input was tonight as far as what the direction was from the full council.
So
I was looking for the information to be able to see how it's performed, how it hadn't performed.
So let me ask a question on, because again, to your point, unless you live next door or around the corner from it and it doesn't affect you, it's kind of hard to know what's going on. So on the homes where they're renting the room, not the whole house, but just the room, are they doing that under 30 days? Or is it?
So I can tell you of one that I know of that has been a problem on Verona Drive that's not in Green Tea. And it was kind of interesting when they had 2 rooms rented, 2 separate people, not related, and the police were called out to settle a disturbance because one room was being louder than what I guess the other room felt they should be. And so these are type problems that come about when we rent, in my opinion, a home and turn it into a hotel. And whether you want to call it hotel, boarding house, but that's the type things for me, because this ordinance passed, I want to say about 2 months after I was elected. So I was hoping tonight to see something from the city. I'm a little disappointed, to say the least, as to, is this ordinance performing as it should? Is it not? So, from that being said, I was looking for some input from whether it's worked or not worked.
I would say, when we were contemplating that ordinance, when we put the group together, the Citizens Advisory Group to help come up with the ordinance, we were looking at numbers we thought, 100, 105-ish, somewhere in that ballpark, of what short-term rentals were in the community. And of course, we may have more than the 19. It's a matter of identifying and turning them in. I guess, because I don't know the legal side of, and I get the single family and where does that all come down on the zoning versus renting if you're renting a single house, but you're renting the whole house, that's
different.
If you're renting 4 rooms to 4 different individuals, it does appear, I'll just use that word, that's a multifamily, and yet our legislature, with the way they come up with certain things, I don't know. So legal would have to weigh in on, I don't know where that sits versus like if I went and rented a house, the whole house, that's one thing. But if we're renting 3 rooms, 4 rooms, 5 rooms, 8 rooms, whatever it is, where does the line get drawn from single family to a multifamily
or a hotel?
Yeah. Well, and also I get it. If you're renting it out and you got multi-generational, but it's all a family, but there's your parents and kids, that's a little different than 3 or 4 individuals that don't have anything in common other than they live in the same spot.
Right.
I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's a mixed bag of tricks of what it is.
So I would just clarify that short-term rentals are going to be things that are the same as hotels, and it's going to be for stays that are 30 days and less. And that's what the focus of the request for today was, short-term rentals. That's what was on the notice.
And an update on the ordinance.
Yeah, yes, sir, and an update on the ordinance. So I don't know from the content of what some people have said, whether it be Mr. Knight, Mr. Willis, or even from the dais, if the properties in question are actually short-term rentals or if there's something else. And if they are a boarding house or if they are something different, that would not be the subject of tonight's conversation.
True, but it's something we need to be aware of.
Yes, sir, and I do believe that the staff has been looking at that in relation to the revisions to the Unified Development Code. So,
and I think, if it's a general report of how it's performing, we just don't have all the details. We wanted to hear what was the entire council was going to weigh in at. But if you wanted a general sense of, like, we have 19 registered. I do know that we still have the service that identifies other properties that are potentially renting out as short-term rentals, and those are contacted, and we pursue those to see if they are actually doing that, and then point them towards the registration process. And there's a handful of those, not a whole lot, probably, I think the number I saw was about 7. And then, as far as as issues with ones that are registered, we've had kind of one that's been, there's been some where we are looking at, what the violations are. Do those violate the ordinance where that permit should potentially be pulled? But that's one out of those 19.
And Willis,
go ahead.
Did you have something to add, like on some of the, if you go to the mic, go ahead and go to the mic. Yep. And specifically, I know you live across the street from the one. I know you said it was taken back by the bank, and it looks like maybe somebody's doing something with it.
Yeah, 43 steps away. But what I wanted to make sure I wasn't clear, and my wife, who's a lot smarter than I am, would whip me if I didn't tell you all this. The company that owns that house is an LLC. They own another house in Spring that has 20 residents in that house, and some of those people are suing each other, including 2 brothers, and that's the kind of environment we're talking about, and I didn't make that clear earlier. I wanted to make.
And I guess, Mr. Willis, the question that I'm asking on those, are they renting those rooms less than 30 days? Because if it's less than 30 days, it's short-term rental. If it's over 30 days, it's considered a regular rental, and the laws are different
in how we.
Or it could be a boarding house.
Right.
There's different.
So so there is some nuances in the law that we would have to know in order to address it. I mean, one may fall under a short-term rental, another one may not. And even if it doesn't, then it's a matter of how do we want to pursue the enforcement of either a boarding house or, you know, whether
Short-term
that's
rental.
a Chapter 54 case, in lack of a better term. So,
And Daryl may have more information too. I do know the owner does not live in the house. It's an LLC, and they bought it just as an investment to do this with.
Yes, and some of the online listings we've seen for that house in the past, but they actually say 30 days, you know, they say 30-day rentals. So they're like, you know, they're not under 30 days necessarily, but you can just rent it for 30 days. In other words, you basically pay a month at a time. So, I mean, take that for, you know, maybe that needs to be redefined in the regulations to make sure that they can't come in and rent something for 30 days.
Mayor Cole, could I weigh in for just a moment? So, yeah, y'all brought up some excellent points this evening. You mentioned the difference between a short-term rental, long-term rentals, and they are treated differently. And as a result, and it seems that we're looking at the potential for maybe changing our existing regulations that even apply to short-term rentals, or even exploring the other through the UDC. Given the fact that there are some complexities, for instance, on short-term rentals, there are numerous, cases that are currently being litigated, at least 8 to 10 right now against cities. There's been 2 that have concluded their litigation, but there are multiple that are still ongoing that have gone through appellate courts. You're getting decisions from all across the board, varying decisions that are diametrically opposed in many cases. So what I would recommend is if the council is interested in exploring this as we move further down the road, I think it'd be more appropriate, at least at this stage, given the different standards that would apply, that we have that discussion in an executive session, because to look at the potential legal implications of any regulatory changes, what that may involve, the risk to the city, so forth. I think that would be a more appropriate place to have that discussion. And then then the council could ultimately provide us more direction on how you'd like to proceed at that time.
Ms. Cade, you.
Mr. Knight, I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think when you see an advertisement saying 30 days, there is a specification in our short-term rental regulations currently about it being for 30 days. And if it is going to be for 30 days, there are certain things that have to be put in that listing. If, for example, you have to post your short-term rental permit, which I'm going to guess isn't on the listing, right? So there may be some things that can be provided, because you guys see those listings, to city staff and say, hey, this one is directly violating our short-term rental code or regulations currently. That's what's really, really hard about all this, is you start to get into nuances of terminology, as we've talked about. It also talks about a short-term rental can't be used for commercial purposes. What does commercial mean?
Yeah.
You know, when you get into that. So I think there may be some opportunities, hopefully not, but may give us some opportunity to better define some of the terminology in here, to give us some strength. But I will say, Pearland is a tight community. We obviously communicate with one another. This is going to be really hard to regulate, especially as the legislature starts to push things at us and says, well, you have to allow it no matter what. I think it's going to require a lot of work and a lot of communication between the community and the city. Hey, we found this one. Kind of like potholes, you know, and to a certain degree. Like, we've got this issue, how do we address it? We've got this issue over here, how do we address it? You can't see everything. But I would say send the information in on that particular one, that you do have some direct violations you can point to, versus, you know, I think something's going on in here, but.
Well, it gives us a start.
Yeah, you know.
It gets a start. Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd say, yeah, I think having an exec session makes a lot of sense with the the legislation and the court cases, anything we can do to beef up the STR regulations, I think makes sense. And if that can solve the problems brought forth tonight, great. If we need to look at, hey, doesn't technically fall under the definition of STR, so we need to address it in the UDC or some other mechanism, I think I'm certainly up for that, as I think everybody would.
Absolutely. Ms. Cade?
I was going to ask, you said there's 19, Trent, is that what you said?
I believe there's currently 19 registered.
And those that are permitted, do they pay some?
I believe there's an annual permit fee, and they have to annually get their permit updated.
Requires an
Are
inspection.
they doing that?
So,
The ones that are currently permitted, they've done that. Yes, they've either gotten their initial permit or they've renewed it when it became due for being renewed.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to ask.
Hernandez?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Mr. Knight, Mr. Willis, both of y'all for coming here. I'm a big believer that, until the public comes in and speaks to us and shares with us exactly what's going on around you, we wouldn't know. We know that things are happening, and I think that the hard part here is, how do we identify, because the right way to do it is to do the application process, but not everyone's going to do the application process. So, it's going to be identifying, and then what do we do after we identify? So I agree with my, council members about doing an executive session to discuss further. Thank you.
Yeah, to both of you, your eyes, your neighbors' eyes on these properties is invaluable. Because you're there, you're across the street, you're next door, you're 2 doors down, whatever the case may be. That's going to be better than us. And we don't have the resources, obviously, to just set a police officer there and monitor. But having said that, if there's even a hint of drug activity and those types of things, this is above and beyond whether it's short-term rental or anything else. If those types of things are out there, I mean, that's a phone call into PD, and I'll let them go with what their normal tactics are in handling that. It's very similar to the one right at the entrance in the halfway house. I mean, we kind of got on top of that, kind of shut it down, and they've kind of come back, and we got to shut it down, but it takes eyes on the property, because I might drive by and see the grass kind of out, but I don't see the 6 individuals coming and going all the time. We don't see that, right? And so we need your eyes. And I say it, don't think you're being a pest to us. We have to know those kind of things and register in, because if not, we don't see it, right? So that's just how it all comes down. But yeah, I think we've got to figure out how do we strengthen at the same time, not tip our hand legally and all those kind of things as well. We got to be careful with that. People buy here. We had a house in a cul-de-sac in our neighborhood, 10 years ago now, and they had so many cars they filled the cul-de-sac up. I mean, it was, fortunately for us, the owner, who didn't live there, did sell the house. Somebody bought it. Everybody's gone, so turned it back into a true single-family house again. So. In these cases, whether it's a halfway house and all, some of those things become a code enforcement situation, and then those just take time because of the court system and Texas laws, and how we go about, addressing those have built-in, not protections, but built-in procedures that you got to go to court here, and it's 30 days or 60 days, and it's those types of things. And unfortunately, that 30 or 60 days, you're seeing that activity go on. And that's frustrating, and we know that. So, but the best thing you can do is be eyes and ears on the ground. If you see something illegal, or even the hint, your gut tells you something illegal is going on there, that's a PD call. Don't call us, call the PD. But if you're seeing other things, we need to start getting that record. if that makes sense. We need to start getting that record of what's going on.
And I would add not 911, the non-emergency number.
Right, yeah, that's fine. But anyway, because those we don't want those to go downhill. We don't want the one, I think it's the one across the street and what, 2 doors down from you? You know, I'm kind of wondering, I've seen a notice, and so I figured it was foreclosed on. Okay. And yeah, and I think, I mean, I guess anybody can put anything into an LLC, but an LLC on a personal residence would be a flag. You know. Anybody else have anything on this? I think we all agree. I think we want to see some strengthening. Probably need to have an exec session sooner rather than later. See where we go with it.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Good deal. Move on. We will be recessing into executive session under Texas Government Code Section 551.074, deliberations regarding the annual performance of the city attorney. This is just our annual normal course of evaluation. So with that, we will adjourn at 8:28.